documented tea ceremony was in the Tang Dynasty, and that was right after Qin. So the dynasty that we're living in is Qin, and that's when tea, the use of the drinking of tea was not common until the Tang, so we don't really know how people drank tea during the Qin dynasty. So the best we can do is guess. And basically, the tea kettle was not in existence until the Tang, documented at least. Nobody knows if there were tea pots before the Tang. So bowls, like large, shallow bowls, probably about this big, were what people put the boiling water into at first, before the teapot was invented, and then poured it over the tea leaves, and then drank from one communal bowl of tea, because tea started out as a really ceremonial, kind of royal practice. So, kind of an honoring of the family and the history of the particular tea leaves that you would drink. And this, what I'm about to show you, is a Tang Dynasty oolong ceremony. And oolong is a type of tea that is halfway between green and black. And the leaves are picked right after they've gone, well, actually, let me go back. There's 4 types of tea. There's white, green, oolong, and black. And white is the youngest, and black is the oldest. And oolong is kind of an interesting leaf because it's picked at the point between the green and black leaves, but it's hand rolled. And each different type of oolong has a different drying, smoking, and sun drying process. So we're just using regular black tea today, but this is an oolong process. So typically this would be boiling water, and underneath the tea table is a tray that's going to catch all the water that flows over the kettle and the cups. And so a lot of tea preparation is the cleansing of the teacups and everything that you use. You never clean any tea implement with soap. So the water kind of represents our connection to the ocean and the sea and the flowing element of our character, and the tea leaves also connects us to the earth. So this is kind of the embodiment of the earth. So you start by taking the hot water, and this kettle is also filled with hot water, and you heat the kettle. And then you fill each individual cup with hot water. And then take the tea out of our other canister. And pour it into each of the cups. And typically tea is steeped 3 times. And the steeping of tea 3 times, if you were to go to China today and you had a traditional tea ceremony and you were getting to know a person that you didn't know before, the first tea steeping would be kind of a symbol of small talk and getting to know each other and kind of that first element of the friendship. And the second cup, the second steeping of the tea, would be that kind of secondary element of the friendship where you start to get into deeper conversation. You're not really intimately involved with the person. And then once you're finished with that second cup, you would steep the leaves again and enter into that third kind of type of conversation. And again, it's all very symbolic. Like it's not the actual kind of conversation that happens during a tea ceremony, but it's symbolic of kind of the sacredness of the ceremony. discussed that they probably did use that communal bowl type system because of the lack of a teapot, where there would be like 3 big bowls. One would have hot water, and one would be empty, and one would be the tea. And you would cleanse with one, pour from the second, and steep from the middle, and then just drink out of tea. And typically these oolong leaves would be like rolled into little balls, so it's really easy to drink around them. But since we can't do that now, pretend you drank it, and it's gone. And I sit in the bottom for the second steeping. And then I just pour it again.
Is the flavor about the same with each steeping, or?
No, that's the cool thing about the 3 steepings is the flavor changes every time. I don't know if you've ever had real loose leaf tea, but you usually steep the first pot for like 10 seconds, and then you drink it. And you drink it relatively quickly, and then so that the leaves don't sit in it for very long. And then the second steeping, steep for about 30 to 45 seconds. And then the third steeping, you would go for 3 to 5 minutes, depending on the type of tea that you're using. And typically younger teas, like white teas, will be steeped for longer on that third steeping, and oolong will be steeped for a little less time for all 3. And black will also be a little less time on all 3.
Is that because of the strength of the tea?
Yeah. Like it takes more steeping to get flavor out of a white leaf than a black leaf.
Is there anything formal in the way you actually pour?
Yeah. The important part of the pouring is like any good tea server will understand their pot to the point where they can pour from about that high and stop at that dripping.
Okay.
So and a lot of it's about just the mannerisms and the looks you have on your face, and just the kind of study and care that you take to prepare everything and lay everything out. Yeah, I don't know if there's any other questions, but...
Can you expand on the looks you have on your face? Just because I do the tea pouring?
Yeah, well, if you're a woman serving tea, and this is in Japan and China, because ancient Japanese and Chinese tea serving kind of evolved in a similar manner. You would keep your eyes down and not look at the people that you're serving until you give them the cup.
Interesting.
And really it's just all about kind of a reverence to the whole ceremony. And you would sit, like I'm sitting now, with your shoes off, on your tatami mat, in front of the tea. And usually a tea table would be a larger kind of situation on which this would sit. And everybody would be sitting like this, being served their tea.
Is there a way to hold the cup?
Yeah. Because typically you fill it up about halfway, so you avoid the hot spot.
Okay. And the same when you serve to someone else?
Aren't these big girls speaking? But yeah, and if anybody, I used to work at a tea house where we served loose tea, and if anybody wants to learn more about tea leaves, then I can totally do that. We can actually do a tea ceremony, different types of tea if you would like, but because I love talking about it,